This is the Liaison podcast with Izzy Park, and today's travel show is about experiencing the magic of Rio de Janeiro in December, where caipirinhas flow freely and grilled seafood sizzles on every corner. Picture this. It's 3 a.m, you're dancing samba in the streets under colonial stone arches that have stood for 3 centuries. There's a woman with a cooler selling caipirinhas made with fresh lime and cachaça. The drumbeat is rattling your ribcage, and behind you, Christ the Redeemer is lit up on the mountain like he's watching over this beautiful chaos. Everyone's sweating, everyone's smiling, nobody's checking their phone, because the moment is just too good. That's Rio de Janeiro at 3 a.m. on a Saturday, and honestly, that's also Rio at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. This city doesn't perform joy for tourists. It lives it, breathes it, dances it into the pavement until the stones remember the rhythm. Rio is what happens when nature shows off and humans rise to match the energy. We're talking about a city of 6 million people, wedged between granite mountains that shoot straight out of the ocean and rainforests so thick it provides the entire city's water supply. Copacabana and Ipanema aren't just beaches. They're the world's most democratic living rooms, where construction workers and CEOs share the same sand, the same sunset, the same vendors selling grilled cheese on sticks. This is the only major city on Earth where you can surf before work, hike through Atlantic rainforest to the feet of an Art Deco Jesus statue at lunch, and end your night in a favela where Samba was literally invented, all without leaving city limits. And here's why Rio matters right now, especially if you're staring at grey skies and central heating. When it's winter where you are, it's full summer in Rio. We're talking 35 degrees Celsius, that thick tropical heat that makes you understand why Brazilians invented the tiny bikini and the caipirinha. December through March is when Rio cranks the volume to 11. Beaches are packed, the city's hosting every festival you can imagine. And if you time it right, you'll hit Carnival, which isn't just the world's largest party, it's a cultural force that stops the entire country. 2 million people on Copacabana Beach on New Year's Eve, all wearing white, jumping 7 waves for luck as fireworks explode over the bay. Then let me be clear about what makes Rio different from every other beach city trying to sell you sunshine and caipirinhas. This place has soul. Not the manufactured focus grouped kind, but the earned kind. Joy that's been forged through some really difficult history. Beauty that exists alongside genuine struggle. Sensuality that's honest instead of packaged for Instagram. Cariocas, that's what Rio locals call themselves, have figured out something essential about being human. They've decided that life's too short not to dance, that your body's meant to move and be celebrated exactly as it is, that music isn't background noise but a fundamental human need, and that strangers can become friends over a shared sunset if you just talk to them. The city teaches you a different relationship with time and pleasure. You know how most places, you work all week dreaming about the weekend? In Rio, people leave work and go straight to the beach. They play football in the streets until dark. They stand outside bars drinking cold beer with friends on a random Wednesday like it's a sacred ritual, which, actually, it is. There's this Portuguese word, saudade, that doesn't really translate. It's this profound, melancholic longing for something beautiful that's past or might never come. Cariocas live with saudade in one hand and alegria, pure joy, in the other. And somehow that combination makes them more alive than almost anyone you'll meet. Let's talk about what it actually feels like to be there. You wake up in whatever neighborhood you've landed in, and the first thing you hear is the city already moving. Vendors calling out, samba drifting from someone's window, buses rumbling past. The light in Rio is different. Something about the angle of the water in the mountains. Everything glows gold, even at 9 in the morning. You grab a coffee, strong, sweet, tiny cup, no messing about, and head to the beach. Not because you're a tourist with a schedule, but because that's what humans in Rio do. More after our break.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners, Nike basketball is for basketball. Nike craft is for everyone else.
You find your spot on Ipanema, probably near Posto 9, where the cool crowd gathers. And you start to notice how the beach works. It's organised into tribes by lifeguard posts. Posto 9 is LGBTQ+ folks and artists. Further down is families. Over there is the football players. Everyone's in these tiny swimsuits, and at first your brain might do that thing where you judge bodies. But then something shifts. Because literally every body type is here. Everyone's just existing in their skin. And after about 20 minutes, you realise the insecurity was yours, not theirs. Cariocas have figured out that bodies are just these things we inhabit. They're meant to swim and dance and lie in the sun, and stressing about them is time wasted. Vendors walk past every 3 minutes. Olha o mate, iced herbal tea. Agua de coco, coconut water straight from the coconut. Queijo coalho, grilled cheese on a stick that's somehow life-changing. You watch impossibly athletic people play foot volley, which is football volleyball, and was invented right here because regular volleyball wasn't challenging enough, apparently. You swim in water that's genuinely warm, body temperature, like the ocean's giving you a hug. And around 5 p.m, everyone starts migrating to Arpoador, this rocky point between Ipanema and Copacabana, because sunset at Arpoador is a communal event. When the sun hits the horizon, people applaud. They clap for the sunset like it's a performance, because beauty deserves acknowledgement, and also because Cariocas understand ritual matters. The food culture here is serious. Forget whatever you think you know about beach food being disappointing. Rio's beach vendors are serving acai bowls that cost like $2 and taste like someone pureed the Amazon and froze it. But you've got to do a proper churrascaria at least once, which is this all-you-can-eat Brazilian barbecue situation where waiters walk around with giant skewers of meat and just keep slicing it onto your plate until you physically cannot continue. Street food gets wild here. Pastel, these fried pastries stuffed with cheese or meat or shrimp, crispy and perfect with hot sauce. Pão de queijo, cheese bread made with tapioca flour that's weirdly addictive. Acarajé from Bahian women selling it on street corners. Black-eyed pea fritters stuffed with vatapa and shrimp tastes like Africa and Brazil had a delicious conversation. And feijoada, the national dish. Black bean stew with pork, served with rice and orange slices and farofa. When the sun goes down, Rio transforms, but doesn't calm down. If you're in Lapa on Friday or Saturday night, you're in for full sensory overload. Those colonial aqueduct arches we talked about? Underneath them, the streets fill with thousands of people, just drinking, dancing, moving between the bars and clubs. Live samba bands set up in the streets, not busking, but just playing, because that's what you do on Saturday night. The Celeron Steps nearby, 250 steps covered in colourful tiles from 60 countries, created obsessively by this Chilean artist, are packed with people, taking photos, drinking, sitting on art made from one man's beautiful obsession. There's this place called Rio Cenarium, 3 floors of antiques and vintage furniture crammed into a colonial building. Live samba and choro bands on every level. Locals dancing between the taxidermied animals and vintage typewriters. It sounds chaotic on paper, and it absolutely is, but it's the kind of chaos that makes you feel alive. If you want something more underground, the favelas that have been pacified and open to tourism have baile funk parties. That's favela funk, this aggressive, bass-heavy music that was born in Rio's communities and went global. Places like Vidigal up the hillside now have bars and hostels and parties where you'll dance until 6 a.m. when someone suggests watching sunrise from the top. Santa Teresa is your move for something more bohemian. This hilltop neighbourhood with cobblestone streets and colonial mansions and artist studios, reached by this ancient yellow tram. More after our break.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
Now let's talk about what the guidebooks show you versus what's actually unmissable. Christ the Redeemer. Yeah, it's touristy, it's crowded, everyone's taking the same photo, and it's still absolutely worth it. Not because of the statue itself, though that's impressive, arms spread 28 metres wide, standing watch over everything. It's the view. You're 700 metres up, and you can see the entire city laid out like a map. The beaches, the favelas climbing the hillsides, Sugarloaf Mountain jutting out of the bay, downtown skyscrapers, the mountains meeting the ocean everywhere you look. But here's what locals know. Skip Sugarloaf if you're doing Christ, because the views are similar and Christ is more dramatic. Instead, if you want another viewpoint, hike Pedra Bonita in the morning. It's this 2-hour climb through Tijuca forest, which is the world's largest urban forest, actual Atlantic rainforest inside city limits, and you emerge at this rock face where hang gliders launch. Or, if you're feeling bold, you can pay someone to take you tandem. Strapped to an experienced pilot, you run off a mountain and suddenly you're flying over the city, the ocean spreading blue below you. 15 minutes later, you're landing on the beach. Ipanema Beach, between Postos 9 and 10, is where you want to be, not Copacabana. Ipanema's got better water quality, better vibes, and it's where locals actually choose to spend their time. The stretch at Posto 9 is traditionally the LGBTQ+ section, and it's just the most joyful, accepting, body-positive space you'll encounter. For sunset, go to Arpoador. Position yourself on the rocks. Watch the surfers catching last waves. Watch the sun sink behind Dois Irmãos mountain. And when people start clapping, clap with them. Stand on Arpoador at sunset and feel the warmth on your skin. Smell salt and sunscreen. Hear Samba drifting from somewhere. That's what you're bringing home. I hope you have enjoyed our trip together. You can support the Liaison podcast by rating it 5 stars and pressing the follow button. Remember, travelling is not about finding yourself. It's about remembering who you've been all along.
Grep News. Tamez.